He's also military, but he's gone through the same thing, but he's gone through it with a different war. And he has the same issues. But it's like, your generation, you're a bunch of wimps. Like, you come up with all these terms and whatever, PTSD and all that. It's almost like you gotta tough it up kind of thing. Hello.
Boys and girls? No.
Hello, boys and girls. And here's being in the show team.
Here I am. Okay, so welcome. Like I can read it right without. Okay, welcome to episode 80 of What the Flicks podcast. I'm Susan Ayers.
Patty Smith.
Lon Shima.
Jorge Sanchez.
In this episode, our movies are My Dead Friend Zoe, The Beekeeper, Late Night with the Devil, and Speak No Evil. So we're going to begin with me. Okay, so I chose the movie My Dead Friend Zoe. When I heard about the premise of this film, I was like, okay, how are we getting the subject matter sounds like it could be very depressing, but it's but they pull it off. In this film, it's about Merritt, Sonequa Martin-Green, an Afghan Army veteran, and who is has a great and close relationship with a fellow soldier, Zoe, Natalie Morales. That's it. Okay, we learn early in the movie that Zoe is actually dead, but she's really very talkative. And she's alive to Merritt. She is just constantly beside her, giving her like this sardonic, sarcastic view of things, right? So this is actually inspired by, believe it or not, this is actually inspired by a true story. And it was written by an Iraq veteran, Kyle Hausman Stokes. And it's based on a short film that he wrote, Merritt and Zoe. Yeah, Merritt and Zoe. He also directed it, but this was Merritt and Zoe. And the other writer is A.J. Bermudez. Okay, so very early in the morning, again, we learn that Zoe is dead. And she's very snarky, and she's always putting in her 2 cents about everything. And only Merritt can see her. Merritt is forced by her mother. She has an uncle, and her uncle is also a vet. And he seems to be in the early stages of Alzheimer's.
No, that's her grandfather.
Oh, I'm sorry, her grandfather.
Right.
Yeah, and her mother, her grandfather. And her mother wants her to check in with him every once in a while to make sure he's okay. Also in this movie, Morgan Freeman is very important. He's kind of, the grandfather is played by...
Right. Ed Harris. And she goes to these meetings that vets go to because they have all kinds of psychological problems. And the head of that, the counselor of that meeting would be Morgan Freeman. And he's a very important stabilizer in the film, right? He's very stabilizing for Merritt. He kind of tries to keep her on the path.
On the path, right.
Yeah. Because Merritt is kind of stuck. And here's the thing, is that I think that a lot of veterans will relate with this completely. And it isn't necessarily veterans. Anybody who has gone through PTSD or has any kind of
guilt.
Trauma is kind of gonna, guilt, just you will, and they all seem to have it, either, right? So believe it or not, this is a very funny film. It's like
I didn't get that at all.
And it's very, very funny, and because what's her name is funny, Zoe. She's funny. So it's also poignant at times, but it's kind of a very matter-of-fact way of looking about the subject
And I can see that the man who wrote it knows the subject himself very well. So I think that it's a very real film. It's really a real film about veterans and what they go through. So, and it's very funny.
Funny enough, I didn't think it was funny at all. But I didn't think it was sad either. It was just, for the first 45 minutes, I did not like this movie. It's like, where is it going? What's it doing? But it wasn't until she has to watch the grandfather. It's like she comes back, she gets out of her fog and starts to have to deal with reality in different ways.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, and that's sometimes how you have to do it. I thought Zoe was just, she's imagining what Zoe would say, but really it's still her. Do you know what I mean? So it's like she's talking, bouncing ideas off herself. Mm-hmm. So,
okay.
But in the end, it was very endearing. But for those first 45, it was too loose, didn't connect to anything.
That's really funny because I would say I actually enjoyed the first part of the movie more.
Well, next.
Oh, okay. Well, I sort of agree with you. I had a hard time. When I saw the trailer, I said, oh, this film looks interesting. But then, as it starts off, you understand the relationship that Merritt and Zoe had. That's the one key thing.
Yeah.
That the way the interaction between the two characters is sort of interesting. The thing is, at the very beginning, you don't realize she's dead.
That's true.
Right? So like you said, it's that inner dialogue she's having, like she's picturing, well, what would Zoe tell me to help? That kind of thing.
Right.
So you're seeing Zoe through her eyes, but you can see what sort of a challenge Zoe was for her, because she was more lighthearted. She didn't take a lot of things seriously,
right.
Whereas Merritt is taking things way too seriously and has closed down. Right. So as they developed that, I thought, okay, this is sort of, I'm not quite into it. And then it gets in the thing, like you said, the mother calls. You can tell she doesn't even want to talk to her mother, right? Mm-hmm. Then it has to do with her grandfather. And it's like, oh my goodness. So the sort of the family stuff comes up. And like you said, I think you're right about the Morgan Freeman character. That whole group session thing. Zoe's present. In fact, she even makes a remark very early on, if I'm ever in this, you just come and take me out, blah, 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 whatever, right? And I thought, okay. And then you see her reacting to Zoe at the meeting, and then you realize she's not there. It's in her head, and she cannot cope with it. The thing, though, is she's required to get Morgan Freeman's signature for her to, and I'm not even sure what exactly it is.
I know, it doesn't really explain it very well.
No, but I think it is like to get her back into like active duty or something. Because right now she's working still, but she's not like, seemingly she's not in the army anymore. She's like put aside and said, you have problems you have to deal with, and until you get this signed off, you're not coming back.
You're not coming back. Right.
To which Morgan Freeman also says, no, you just walk out of the meeting. I'm not signing anything. Because that's all she wants him to do. Just sign this, I'm okay. And he's telling, no, you're not. You're not sharing. You're not doing anything. I mean, she has really shut down.
Yeah.
Except when she's by herself and she has this interaction with her friend Zoe.
Right.
And you're right. I agree with you, though. I thought it was very funny. Zoe is a sarcastic kind of like full of life kind of character. And you realize that's what she wants to come out. In my opinion, that's what Merritt wants to come out of her. But she can't do it because she can't even deal with Zoe's death.
Right.
So as they go on to the point with the grandfather, that's when I thought, oh, now I like you said, now she has to confront reality.
Right.
It's being pushed in her face whether she wants to or not. And at first she doesn't accept it. That's the thing. It's only until her mother really shows disappointment, scolds her, saying, I can't believe da-da-da-da-da. The mother's even lying on her behalf.
Right.
And it's sort of funny because like towards the end, you're right. I think that's where everything sort of comes together. Yeah. Doesn't quite solve everything, but I thoroughly agree because what threw me off is when you see the ending and you see who the film's dedicated to. And I guess because my father's in the military, I always had affection for people in the military. I always say, no, they're doing something I don't think I could do. I can't go and kill on behalf of my country to preserve its freedom. I don't honestly think I have that kind of courage or character in myself. And to be quite honest, I tell people I don't know until I'm confronted with it, maybe. But like you said, this Kyle Hauser Stoke, just amazing what he accomplished, I think, for anybody in the military. There's a great sequence in which I think was a 4th of July celebration, correct?
Yeah, with the grandfather.
Stuff like that shows, in my opinion, such great patriotism that we have in this country. I'm always touched by that. And then at the end, showing how almost the entire cast in the movie, even the group, were all part of the military, including Morgan Freeman, which I had no idea. In fact, I kept waiting for Ed Harris because he's played so many military operators, and he's the only one who hasn't been in the military, right? So I will give it to that there's something very special about this movie on that basis. Now, I can also say I didn't find the drama so engrossing. There was this nice little departure, I think, from like almost this romance that she builds up with this one of the character who's a Native American, because it does take place in Oregon, and and he sort of it's his facility that runs this sort of senior facility that they're ting of moving Ed Harris to, is his character to, the grandfather.
Over his dead body.
Yeah, exactly. But like I said, if anybody wants to know what patriotism is, in my opinion, American patriotism is, especially when dealing with the military, I think this is one of the greatest examples you could see.
That's true.
It really is. And whether you're a pacifist or not, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with humanity. And I think that's what comes through, in my opinion, and the AJ Bermudez, I don't know what she brought to maybe because it was a woman, the films, they get 2 men that he knew, and it was just sort of fascinating that I thought, wow, this is really something special as far as what they presented. And like I said, I don't know if people find it entertaining, but I think this is sort of an important movie to see, to understand, I think, American mentality, especially when it comes to the military.
But also in a very like a lot of things, like I was saying, a lot of petty, scary movies I find hard to, not that they're not good movies, but I can't watch. So a lot of times people don't want to go for entertainment to pay their $25-$30 to be all depressed. This movie is not depressing.
No, it's not.
No, not at all. I don't see. That's what I'm saying. There's something so real about it that's what you sort of glom onto, I think.
Yeah.
George?
I really enjoyed the movie too. Kind of like your old movie, the Pamela Anderson. It feels like a real movie, real people.
Exactly.
That's a movie. That movie, an actual movie. I thought the movie is like I would say a poem, an ode, a song to the to military vets, what they go through. They really explain it really well, like just the whole experience that they go through after the war and what they have to deal with. I thought that it was funny too, because his grandfather, Ed Harris, he's also military, but he's gone through the same thing, but he's gone through it with a different war. And he has the same issues. But it's like, your generation, you're a bunch of wimps. You come up with all these terms and whatever, PTSD. And it's almost like, you got to tough it up kind of thing. But no, he went through the same thing. So it's just, because it's always the same thing.
Right.
So I thought also, in a way, I thought the movie, she was feeling obviously bad because Zoe died and she pops up. The whole movie, it was almost kind of mystery how Zoe died too, because I thought she died a certain way because the way it lists me, but it kind of puts a little twist on it for me. We're giving it away, so it's like, oh, interesting, because that's something else I hadn't thought about too, of how many ways the military perish. So no, it was really good. I thought it was. I think the guy might have been actually Indian. I think Urkash Amdukar sounds Indian. I thought it was Indian, but I thought that I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I thought Morgan Freeman always plays those great characters. It shows you about the patience he needs to have to deal with people that have those jobs. The patience they have to deal with people who are coming in with PTSD and talk about it. And I thought I was kind of surprised at the end of that how I thought all those characters in the circle and are actually military. They had all those pictures. Go, wow, that's pretty good. Yeah. So I really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah. I can really I can really tell that somebody who actually knows the military, who is a vet,
write it.
wrote it. Yeah. I mean, you can tell. He doesn't pull any punches. And I think it's interesting that he used 2 women, although in his case he's a man and the person was a man, right? But
and that's why I wonder if that, since it was co-written by a woman, that AJ Bermudez is a woman, that I thought maybe that's why he had a woman come in to say, I want their perspective.
I think he actually chose it to be women, because if you imagine it with guys, it would give off a different message.
I agree, actually. Yes, that whole emotional thing in the military, right?
But I can't tell you why. But
because guys tend to hide things and they never talk. When she was a bit like a guy.
Well, like you said, like Ed Harris, you like toughen up.
It's like walk it off.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the way she was kind of like a guy because the way she dealt with it too. Even though,
absolutely.
But because she was a woman, she still had to deal with it more emotionally than guys with that. So it probably made it a more interesting movie that it was a female dealing with it.
Remember I was saying to you once about sci-fi that I sometimes have a problem with just male writers writing female characters, or female characters. Anne Rice was the example I used, writing male characters. These characters are a little masculine. Other than that, I loved it.
I'll tell you an example is, I never say her name right, Sigourney
Weaver?
Thank you. Sigourney Weaver playing Alien. A guy wrote that, but he wanted to emphasize motherhood and the protection.
Because it's a big deal to guys.
No, I thought he did it well.
I think that's very true.
Shall we do our thing?
Yeah, sure. So my movie.
Okay. So I'll give it a 6.
I give it a 6.
No, this was a 10 for me.
Wow.
I thought it was that good.
I was going to give it an 8. So yeah, it was a very, I really would suggest all of us know veterans. I mean, because we live in the United States, so everybody knows somebody who fought somewhere, right? Or was in the military. So I really think that it's worth.
I also thought it's good for veterans to watch it, but I think it's good for people who know nothing about the military.
Or have to deal with them.
But also to watch it to understand what military people go through.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
it's a quiet movie.
Kind of like you got to watch Stir Crazy to know what the rockers go through.
Yeah.
Right. And like you said, just not about holding a gun and shooting the enemy in wartime, right? No, this is like just normal human beings.
It's a quiet movie.
I think it's also too like comradeship brotherhood, brotherhood and sisterhood in war. Makes different kind of connections than in normal life because of the pressure cooker.
The intensity of being together, exactly.
Yeah. It's like being on the road. Your relationships become intensified because you're with each other 24/7.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So we'll be back.
We'll be back.
Yeah.